Hey guys, we're gonna do practice A. Okay, so area of a circle with a radius of 6.8. So RDCA. We practice to get to radius from radius to area. If the radius is 6.8, that the area is pi r squared. So you can go straight from radius to area. So if you know the radius is 6.8, then the area should equal 6.8 times 6.8 times pi. All right, next one. The area of a circle with a diameter of 9.2. So kind of thinking about this. If it's a diameter and I want the area, I'm going to have to go backwards to radius and then down to the area. So if the diameter is 19.2, then the radius would be half of that. So if I divide this by 2, right, I get 9.6. Okay, so the area is still pi r squared. So area would be 9.6 times 9.6 times pi. Radius of a circle with an area. So this would be in feet squared. This one would be in centimeters squared. This one I have to work backwards. Work backwards from area to the radius. So from area to radius. So instead of multiplying by itself and then multiplying by pi, working backwards from that, if the area equals pi r squared and the area is 17.9, then I'll need to divide by pi on both sides, which is the inverse of multiplying by pi. And then I'll need to take the square root of both sides, which is the opposite of multiplying something by itself, taking the square root. Okay. And then that will be my answer in meters squared. All right, the last one like this. What would be the diameter of this circle with an area of this? So it's kind of like this. Same thing. I got to go from area back to radius, and then I got to remember to double it. So if the area is 707, and that's equal to pi r squared, then 707, right? I'm going to just follow the same steps, divide by pi, and take the square root to both sides. All right, and so that would be my final answer. Not really. In inches squared, and then I'm going to double it because they wanted to know. That's going to give me my radius, and I want the diameter. So that's going to be my answer. And let me think about this. If my area, that was already in meters squared, the radius would just be in regular old meters. And here, same thing. It would just be in regular old inches. Okay. So now let's type that into the calculator. So I don't know what calculator you might have at home, but I'm going to put it on one of these fancy ones. I have one of these laying around. Okay, so the first one is, and you can type this into Google if you don't have, or just on your phone. So 6.8 times 6.8 times pi. No. Okay, so I get 145.3. Here, now I got 9.6 times 9.6 times pi. Enter. 289.5. All right, now this one's a little trickier, right? I have 1017.9 divided by pi, and then I want to take the square root of that whole answer. So the square root of this. That didn't work, so I'm just going to try that. 107 divided by pi, and then I'm going to take the square root of that answer. Okay. Ooh, so I got 18 there. Now let's work back from here. 707 divided by pi. Enter, and then take the square root of that. I get 15. But I'm not done, right? Because if the radius was 15, then the diameter would be 30. Okay. Now on to densities. So we talked, I think in every class but third period, what density is. So density comes up in human geography and also AP environmental science. Density is in people per square miles. So that means they're measuring the population per miles squared. Well, that's the area, isn't it? So if I know the population over the area, that's the formula for density. All right, well, what's the population here? We can substitute, instead of the word population in our formula, we can substitute the population. So the population is 1.2 million people. Okay, and they're living within a region of a 6-mile radius. So what's the area? And back up to here to the top, right? If the radius is 6, what would be the area? Well, the area would be the radius times pi, or 36 pi. All right, 36 pi. So find the population density. Okay, so we can find the density if we take the population and divide by the area. So we can just go ahead and do that. 1.2 million. So that's got 5 zeros. Divided by 35 pi. Beautiful. Enter. So my density is equal to 10610.3, and that's in people per miles squared. Awesome. Now these are more like what we practice in class. They don't want the whole circle, they only want this shaded part. So the area of a sector is the portion of that circle. So it looks like they want 50 out of 360 slivers of that circle, and then whatever the area of that whole circle is. So let's find out. If the radius is 7, then the area of the whole circle would be 7 times 7 times pi, or 49 pi. Okay, so we're going to substitute that in. The area of the sector would be 5 over 360 times 49 pi. All right. Now let's go on to the next one, and then we'll type all these in. This has a radius of 13, so the area would be 13 times pi. All right, so the area of this whole circle is 169 pi, and they want this portion of it. So they want 125 over 360, and the portion is 169 pi. That's the whole circle. So the area of that sector is that portion of the whole circle. Here the radius is 1. So the area of this circle would be 1 times pi. All right, so the area of this sector would be 140 over 360 times 1 pi. Last one. Oh, I skipped a question. I'll have to go back. Area of a sector is 45 over 360. And my radius is 8, so my area would be 8 times pi, or 64 pi. Okay. So now let's plug these in. This first one, 50 divided by 360, enter, times 49, enter, times pi, enter. Oh, and I got 21.4, 21.4. All right, this one, 125 divided by 360, enter, times 169, enter, times pi, enter. 184.35. So I guess that'd round to 4. Here we got 140 divided by 360, enter, times 1, enter, times pi, enter, 1.2. And this last one, 45 divided by 360, enter, times 64, enter, times pi, enter, 25.1. All right. Now, we skipped this other density problem. So back to here. It says a region with a diameter of 15. So working backwards, if something had a diameter of 15, the radius would be 7.5. It's half of 15 is 7.5. So what would the area be? So the area would be 7.5 times 7.5 times pi. So it says find the number of people who live in the region if the density is 5,000. So now it's the same formula, but instead of the density is equal to the population over the area, they've actually told us the density is. So they gave us the answer. The density is 5,000 per square meter. And they want us to solve for the population. Okay, so we know this is equal to the population over the area, and we know the area is 0.75 times 0.75 times pi. So let's figure out what that is. All right, so 176,715. 176,715. Okay, so it looks like I can just multiply it on both sides, and we should have our answer here. So if I multiply both sides, this cancels. And if I multiply it by the 5,000 over here, 176,715. 176,715 times 5,000. That is the number of people that live in the region. So the population would be 883,575. So a little under 1 million people. Check out the next video for the rest of the sheet.